kind of continues our boat theme, this section of Scripture with Matthew 4 and into 5. We see kind of two stories that frame this. They're both storm stories. In the first case, Jesus, I believe, is asleep on the boat. In the second case, Jesus comes walking on the water. These two stories sort of frame our section, and what they're meant to convey is this power and authority that we were studying earlier. Here's the Son of God exercising power over the elements. Here's the Son of God doing what Old Testament passages tell us only God can do by controlling the winds and the waves. Again, we want to see what Jesus is doing as he's revealing himself as the Christ, as the Son of God, as he's demonstrating what kingdom, power, and authority actually look like. We want to see the reaction. What we notice here is the fearfulness of his disciples on the one hand. They're not sure who this Jesus is they're following. They like what they hear. They've been anticipating the Messiah. They have some wrong ideas that he's going to have to correct on what the Messiah really is. But here, they're like, what kind of man can do this? And so that's part of this picture that we're seeing. In the middle of all this, we see Jesus moving about, touching people's lives, healing. The touch of Jesus is important in this lesson, and you'll be able to look at those stories that emphasize that touch. One of the ironies, if you will, one of the bizarre traits of all this is I think this is the fourth time by the time we get to this lesson that the demons recognize Jesus. Legion, I believe, is this lesson. Legion refers to Jesus as the Son of the Most High. I think this is the fourth time, and the irony is God's people. Particularly the leaders don't recognize who Jesus is. It's not just a lack of recognition. They want to kill him. The disciples are following. They're excited to be part of this good news of the kingdom, but they have a totally different idea of what Messiah and the kingdom is all about. Meanwhile, the demons recognize him as the Son of God. This is one of these bizarre ironic twists in the story. And again, this is also, as we're moving very quickly with Mark, this is building that tension that the question of who is this Christ? Who is this Son of God? He's sure demonstrating what that looks like, but what we see Mark also showing us is how people are struggling to grasp on a broad spectrum, whether it's the leaders who would like to kill Jesus or his own disciples, who in these stories we see the fearfulness that gets in the way of the faith. And I think that's the big lesson that we want to take away from this is, does fear interrupt our faith in really following Jesus for who he is and not as we would have him to be?